King Power Stadium. I'm Dan Bates. Alongside me, we've got Matt Elliott, former club captain, club legend, and another club legend as well in Steve Howard. Fantastic to have you both on. Mixed allegiances for you tonight,
Absolutely.
But we're Leicester tonight. That's
yes, we are Leicester. I keep remember that, Leicester.
You sure?
It's been a couple of months since we've seen you, maybe.
Yeah, a couple of months. Yeah, all right. Yeah, came down for the Arsenal game as well, but been keeping well. Just been obviously watching Newcastle United win silverware.
Yeah, it's not been as good from a Leicester point of view in the last few months. Very good from a Newcastle point of view. Hopefully that changes this evening. And how about yourself, Matt? Although we've both been here, I feel like I've not seen you.
No, it's been a while, mate, isn't it? It's been a while. It's been good. But unfortunately, there's a few games coming up and we'll bump into each other. But no, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes.
An engagement on the quiet there. You little romantic you. Crept up to Edinburgh, didn't you?
Edinburgh just tells a story.
Hey, there you go. Commiserations to your young lady. But there you go. But where were we? Oh, talk about legend as well. Steve. Yeah. The amount of people saying hello to Steve down there. Me and Jerry are sat with him. They're like, they just like flaff a wave at me, and they're all running up, shaking his hand and all sorts.
It's because they don't see us very often.
Is that what it is?
Exactly. Yeah.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
You're just a
no, I don't.
Yeah. Just being polite.
But I just had a quiet couple of weeks, mate. Actually, I'm telling a lie. I've been looking after about 200 Canadians who've come over all the way from Calgary and Halifax, taking them left, right, and centre. But I haven't got time to tell you everything about it.
Well,
I
saw you when you had a group of Australians.
Of course, yeah.
Well, not so
Canadians, Australians, Newfoundlanders, Newfies, they call them. Still Canadians, but it's like a separate entity. And Australians we saw, in the local hostelry.
What's this for?
A friend of mine's got like tours and brings them over.
All right.
And he's had like 400, 500 kids and adults. They all come over. Basically, we take them to games, Premier League games, international games. They play games and they do tours. They train, and then we take them Alton Towers. And
nice.
English cultural side, pubs.
Yeah.
Happen to bump into Batesy there. Shock.
In the pub.
It's good fun.
None of the cultural stuff. But
no.
Just the pub. Right, let's. We digress. We could just chat away.
Sorry,
for 45 minutes.
Well, to be fair, we've got to try and deflect and divert a bit, haven't we?
I'll tell you what, let's look at tonight's team news, though. Starting, of course, just Leicester's team. And it's a pretty easy one, to be fair, because Leicester are unchanged for tonight's game with Newcastle United. They've got Mads Hermansen in goal, Thomas, Cody and Faes, with Christensen and Justin as the wing-backs. Ndidi and Samare are in midfield with El Kanous, Vardy and Daka. Obviously, we know that's relatively fluid how those guys set up. I guess possibly the headline of team news is on the bench. Jeremy Monger gets a spot on the bench. Will we see him? Obviously, very, very young player. A chance to see a 15-year-old in action for the Foxes. Stolarczyk, Akoli, Mavididi, Decod-Overeed, Ayew, Ricardo Skip and Buonanotte also make up the bench. We'll concentrate on Newcastle a little bit later on. We can leave that on the screen for you, though, just a moment now. Steve, what jumps out for you? The last game, obviously, was a tough trip to the Etihad, a 2-0 defeat, but they have looked a bit more solid since they've gone to the 3/5.
I mean, he's tried all sorts of things, hasn't he, Rude? But I think he must have thought, he's looked at the team and thought, you know what, did all right, 2-0, you think, right, okay, but for me, though, Bitty, it's the front bit, and you need to score some goals, and you need at least a shot on target, which is, I'm looking at that, and I don't know whether Rude just turned around and said, you know what, that's the same team, get yourselves out of it, put a performance in, away you go. I don't know. What do you think, Matt? I don't know.
I think there'll be quite a bit of grumbling about. I mean, that's twice now. There's been no changes, isn't it? And like 2 negative results and pretty unimpressive performances, really overall. I do take your point about looking, and I said it before the last game, Man City, more secure with that back 3/5. But so you should. That's largely the point of applying that system.
But you play a black 5. Does that take away from your forward line?
Well, you would think naturally enough it does, unless you've got those totally athletic and adventurous wing backs, unless you're very slick at the system. And I don't think Leicester necessarily are right now, are they? With the confidence as it is. I would have stuck with the system pretty much. I mean, there is a case for saying 2 out-and-out strikers up top if you're going to play Daka.
Yeah.
Which he did try in some form in the second half at Man City, but it was Knuth who was up. He was further forward than he has been of late, but the performance didn't match the little slight tweak in system because they were just playing. I don't know. It looked like they were playing not to lose heavily at 2-0, and at 2-0, you've still got a sniff in the game.
You get one goal, and then you never know.
But people aren't going to want to see a similar performance. I know it's Man City, and you concede territory and advantage and ground, and concede a lot of things against them. But I thought it was all too easily forfeited, really.
Yeah.
And there's got to be a bit more intent in the performance.
Yeah. If you're following on and watching us along on YouTube, then good evening, of course, to you. Please do get your comments in, hit that like and subscribe button as well. That's exactly what Bubba has done, our regular viewer. Good evening to you. You're in the comments tonight. Dave Platt says, whatever happened to Foxes never quit. So obviously, hopefully we can see some of that attitude from Dave and the players this evening. Leo says Jeremy Monger with 3 exclamation marks. That's also been agreed by Rai, who is looking forward to potentially seeing Monger in action. If it is, it's from the bench, but 15 years old, he's lighting up PL2, which even at a young age of 15 in PL2, that's relatively young terms, but he clearly is a very, very bright prospect.
Give him a chance. Stick him in, why not? You know what I mean? Nothing else is working. So you may as well stick him in and give him a chance and see what he does.
Yeah.
I obviously haven't seen like you guys have seen him, but I've obviously heard about him and the rumours about him. I mean, get him in. You give everybody a lift, going, here we go. And you never know.
He'd certainly
he might be the catalyst.
Stranger things have happened.
Exactly.
Not many, mind you, but they have. But I mean, I suppose him coming into the squad and getting a bit of experience, but if it's like negative, and listen,
what are you trying to say? Because he's too young?
No. I'm saying, in terms of it's almost pointless not to put him on. If you put him in there and it's a negative environment,
I agree.
That's what he's seeing. He's like, go and give him a buzz, innit? A boost. And the crowd as well. Could be very timely.
Well, I think that's a good point. One thing, certainly, when we saw the team news, and it's now become a talking point, not just from us, but the people in the comments are talking about Jeremy Monger. The supporters coming in tonight will be talking about, Jeremy Munger's on the bench. Maybe we'll get to see him tonight.
Yeah, but you're not... Well, I suppose you are clutching at straws a little bit. Not that Jeremy Monger is a straw. He's a superly talented youngster. He's obviously got a lot to prove, a long way to go, but people will be interested to watch him, from the entertainment side as well, and also, hopefully, a bit of belief going forward as well. Any positivity that you can draw out of the situation, you want to sort of maximise it, don't you?
I think that's the thing, the positivity. You've got to draw the positivity out of that, out of putting him on the bench, because you cannot, fans can't come into the ground and go, I've got a 15-year-old on the bench.
Yeah.
You got to spin that and go, you know what, that's a positive thing to put him on a bench, because give him experience and stick him on, you never know.
And see him. Let's see him.
Yeah. Because they've probably heard an awful lot about him. Like you said, you have as well, and we've heard and we've seen enough about him in PL2.
His technical ability, I've seen enough of that. Without doubt, he's got that. I mean, he's 15. And it says it all. Yeah. He's 15. He's on a Premier League bench in a squad in the Premier League. So it's just about some bags and acres of development to come. But pure talent is obviously there in abundance.
Yeah, hopefully we see him from the bench this evening. Mumu21 on YouTube says, good luck tonight, guys. And Leon the Spanish Fox says, good luck, Foxes from Spain. Foxes never quit. Let's take a quick look at tonight's opponents then. Newcastle United, as Steve mentioned at the top of the hour, obviously have had a pretty impressive couple of months, of course, culminating in that Carabao Cup final victory at Wembley. This is how they line up. They've got Nick Pope in goal, Livramento, Burns, Schär and Trippier. Schär fresh off the back of signing a new contract as well last week. Tonali, Joe Linton and Guimaraes in midfield. We'll talk about that midfield three with Steve in just a moment because Eddie Howe has been singing their praises. Harvey Barnes returns as well to King Power Stadium for the first time. Be interesting to see what reception he gets. Hopefully a very good one from the Leicester City supporters who have gone through the academy here. Murphy is the other side as well as Alexander Isak. We all know all about how good Alexander Isak is. Hopefully we are not on the receiving end of it tonight. Quick word on that team then. Steve is strong. We know Newcastle are strong. We can talk about them a little bit later on in more depth, but they're a team full of confidence at the moment.
Absolutely. You know, winning that silverware after 70 years or whatever it was, which is, you know, the whole place is, not just the team, the whole Newcastle is buzzing. And I think that's giving the lads a lift, the Newcastle lads. But I think I did an interview just before Leicester played up at St James's, and I said you've got to control your midfield. If you control Newcastle's midfield, you've got a chance in the game. And I think they didn't do that at St James's, but I think it applies now because it's, you know, that's the three, arguably one of the best midfields in the Premiership, arguably.
Yeah.
You know, if you can dampen them down, I think you've got a chance. But it's a first and foremost, and obviously, and then you've got Barnes who's had a cracking game against Brentford.
Yeah. We say something like 7 or 8 shots in the game, didn't he?
I think he should have had 2. I think he should have had, but you know, which is, you never know what he's going to do at night. But you know, when you got people like him as well, who's on fire, you know, the whole place is up. And I think if Leicester start properly and, you know, have a bit of urgency, a bit of fight, you know, like Fox never quit. There's no fight. I need to see some fight in Leicester. You know, if you're going to go down fighting. You know, scrapping like we would. You know, and I don't see that fight. But hopefully, you know, Rouge got them up for this game and thinks, you know what, we'll try the first 10 minutes. We'll try and do it. Well,
yeah, I think the worry is as well that Newcastle are supremely confident at the moment, and that you know, in my experiences, I was thinking going back to the Carabao Cup 25 years ago, whatever. But we were just in the flow after that. Yeah. It doesn't. Some people think it maybe like saps your energy and there's a bit of a hangover feeling. I think it's the opposite. I think they're going to get stronger because of that. Especially
when they're after Champions League as well.
Yeah, well, exactly that as well. The incentive they've got makes it even tougher, really, for Leicester, the prospect. You know, much as I don't like to hear myself saying that, because, Man City dropped a couple of points, didn't they? Chelsea dropped a couple. The incentive for Newcastle.
And they've got the game in hand as well, Newcastle.
And they've got one in hand after this, haven't they?
Yeah.
Exactly. So how much incentive do you need? And they were riding on the high. You're looking at me, Bates, as if you're thinking, Matt, say something in Leicester flavour. Sorry, yeah. But it's going to be tough. I was probably most disappointed out of any game this season. I didn't see the Wolves game, but against Man City, I thought, you know, the manager spoke about an occasion, what occasion it is to play at the Etihad. Excuse me, sorry, Etihad. And then Man City, you know, that brings and the quality of players. I didn't see them up for the challenge in it. It was disappointing. And it's going to be difficult to do that tonight.
I think it's like, you know, even the Man U game yesterday. You know, the Man City Man U was very lethargic.
Peter, you know, that's what Man City weren't that good on Wednesday.
No, not at all.
Wednesday, and yesterday either.
There's no urgency, you know, like, and I feel with this Leicester side, if they just spring a bit of urgency in it, you know, go quicker into Vardy, quicker, they might change the you know, the fortunes, but it's just a bit laboured.
Well, it's difficult that you mentioned about Ruud van Nistelrooy. Like, how does he go about? What does he say to his players tonight? You know, about stirring them up. I'm sure if he's tried at all, he's tried already to do that, and it hasn't had much effect. But we'll see.
We can hear from the man himself, Matt, basically speaking about what you've been talking about there, because in his pre-match press conference, he was speaking to the media about a number of things, obviously in terms of trying to change the momentum of what's happening at the moment, as well as importantly in everybody sticking together.
It's something where I feel that I want to go through this with this team, with the squad, with the staff, stay together, stay connected with them, fight ourselves through this as people, stick together, and give energy every day to get ourselves out of this. Yeah. So for me, it's not something where I feel I want to run away from. I want to be part of this, and I want to fight for this with the squad, and that's every day. So that's also leading into Monday's game. It's another opportunity for us, and can only hope for some support in our own stadium on Monday.
That was, of course, Ruud van Nistelrooy speaking ahead of this game with Newcastle, and really about what we've been kind of saying there. They are fighting every single day, and you do. Obviously, I've got the pleasure of being able to go down to Seagrave. You've obviously been there, you've done a podcast, you've seen it. It's a fantastic facility, but actually going out and seeing training, the players are still giving absolutely everything. That's one thing that you know that you will definitely get, and they are showing that fight, they are showing that spirit. At the moment, obviously, the results aren't following that, but Ruud van Nistelrooy is saying the right things, and they are trying to stick together, Matt.
I think he quite regularly says the right things, but he's quite balanced in his perspective of things, isn't he? But it just maybe just looking for him having a sort of change of tact as well a little bit, because something needs to change drastically, like within the whole camp, really, doesn't it? Because what is happening is not sufficient. But I don't doubt the players in terms of that in training, and very rarely do players down tools and just let everything drift in training. But the real test is in games. In training you're away from sort of the pressure a bit and the spotlight or any immediate criticism stroke comments from the supporters and stuff, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's when you're in the pitch, when in battle, if you want to dramatise it, that it really matters. You don't,
I don't.
There's better players than they're showing.
Yeah, I don't think there's any player who in training, especially when you turn up, especially if you're a regular first teamer.
Yeah.
You don't just down, like you said, down tools. You're always doing you're doing your job, training wise. But it's just like you said. I think you've nailed the head there, Matt. When you come to work Saturday, 3 o'clock, and you're like, or a Monday at 8 o'clock, you're like, oh God. And that's when
How do you react there?
Yeah, and that's what you get paid for, really.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the training is fun, really, because you can switch on. You're not under pressure. You're being scrutinised by coaches and managers and that, obviously. You've got to keep your standards to impress. But if you make a mistake or something, it's not a problem. You just get back on the horse as such. You do one in the game, or how's your character standing up then?
That's just about to say, there's your character. When you've got 20, 30,000 people shouting at you.
You do different things at the King Power than you do at Seagrave.
Without doubt.
Yeah, and you can see, probably the one player that does spring the most to mind is Jamie Vardy, isn't he? Obviously, he's been through everything with this club, and you can tell he cares, and it is frustrating for him. And there was a moment, I think, at the Etihad, if you remember, he got a yellow card, didn't he, where he got just frustrated. I think there was a loose touch and then bang, and
he's going to get frustrated.
Clearly frustrated with what's going on. Yeah.
He's going to get frustrated, because obviously he's there to score goals, and there's a lot of pressure on Vardy at the minute because the team isn't scoring goals, but the team's not playing a way to get him to score goals. So because he cares a lot, he loves the club, but it's one of them where he kind of get too frustrated, because if he does get too frustrated, he's going to do what you just said there and snap somebody and get sent off.
Well, he nearly made a bad situation even worse. Then it was borderline, wasn't he? But understandable as well. He was frustrated himself. I think the whole situation.
Even just there, like that was the goal, wasn't it, against Tottenham at the start of the season? The passion that he has is probably unrivaled, really. Certainly at this club, and you could argue across the Premier League, there's not many that will have that.
He just likes scoring goals first and foremost, doesn't he? But he likes proving people wrong.
Yeah,
doesn't he? Without a doubt. You see his reaction when he gets a bit of stick and he goes up to the opposition fans. But he likes to do well for his teammates. He's a good player within the squad.
He's a goal scorer. He's not scoring
well respected. Goals. Yeah, exactly, and for the club as well. So numerous reasons all merged together. But he's he's not getting opportunities. Never
No,
mind
he's not,
scoring
no.
goals,
Not at
and
all,
he's
no.
going to be frustrated.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we've just seen some of the selection of his goals this season, and it's what we've not seen so much recently. The club haven't scored, and we know in a number of games now, Steve. And you, as a former forward yourself, what will Jamie Vardy be thinking now? Because look at some of these goals; they're just classic centre forward.
But it's quick,
play,
though, look,
aren't they?
Beatty. It's quick. It's quick. He's on the shoulder. He wants an early ball to use his pace. We've still got tremendous pace, even though he's 36, 37, whatever he is.
Yeah.
He's still got great pace now, and give him it. Let him do what he needs to do, and score goals, get a bit of confidence himself, and he will. If he scores goals, if he starts doing goals again, the whole team will lift.
Yeah, I mean,
And you'll think the place will lift as well. won't
Totally,
it?
the whole kick caboodle.
yeah, and sort of slipping back into sort of not negativity, but questioning. I don't know the exact reason. Vardy got brought off at half time against Man City. I know the booking might have come into play, but if you're looking to get back into a game at 2-0,
Yeah, Liam.
you probably need Jamie Vardy to help doing that.
I did really look at that and think, well, we're not going to win this game, so I'm
Well,
going to
I
rest.
think that was the mentality, yeah. But at half time, you're conceding defeat.
In a relegation fight.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Well,
questions to be asked, but
then
he's back in the fray
one could
tonight.
argue really at the Etihad though that in the last minute, 87th maybe, there was added on. There was a really good chance Buonanotte to slip Ayew in, and suddenly 2-1 with 5 minutes to go is a completely.
What Matt just said there,
Well,
especially when it's
that's what
2
I'm
then
saying,
you go 2-1, you're a home team.
But there was that moment, and Ricardo when he came on,
Yeah.
he forced himself down the right hand side, whipped in a decent position, whipped in across straight into Ederson's arms. But that was the only two sparks that I can remember in that second half. But that needed to happen earlier, really, because that if they had capitalised, it probably wouldn't have been enough time anyway. But whichever, we're talking ifs and buts. But Jamie Vardy back in the fray tonight. I suppose one point you could question. I look at it as well in terms of attacking. Is Daka in that position? He looks a little bit out of sorts. He's playing that. Well, it's just what we've got a 3-4-3 sort of, Steve, really.
Yeah.
Or 3-4-2-1 if you like.
Right, yeah.
So Daka's not playing as an out-and-out striker alongside Vardy. He's having to do a shift back. He looks
Back there.
Yeah. Buonanotte will be disappointed he's not starting, put it that way.
And maybe Ricardo from the way he played when he came off the bench at Man City. But we can.
For me, Ricardo will be playing if he's 101% fit, but I think it's just about easing him back in, yeah.
The Leicester players have come out onto the pitch, closely followed by the Newcastle players for their warm-ups here at King Power Stadium. What are we now? 7:25, so we're just over half an hour away now from kick-off. Some of the attention, probably a lot of the attention, might be around Harvey Barnes, Newcastle's now left midfielder, of course, spent so many years at this football club. Quite brilliantly, Matt, didn't he, serve this football club? Interesting to see what reaction he gets. I'm sure it'll be a really good reception from the Leicester fans tonight.
Sure, you would like to think so, wouldn't you? He didn't do bad for Leicester, did he? And a bit of a conundrum, Harvey. And as his Newcastle career is sort of proving a bit, it's fits and starts, but at times he looks a world beater. And I've known him since a young lad. I've known him used to play against his dad. We won't go there. I marked him. Suffice to say, I marked him one day. We lost 5-0 and he got all 5.
All right, yeah.
York against Scunthorpe. But anyway, I digress. But Harvey, super talent. He's got all the attributes, really, in many ways. He absolutely terrorises fullbacks on occasions, doesn't he? Yeah. And then other games sort of goes within himself.
Yeah.
It's hard to work out, but the potential, I'd say potential, he's about 28 now, isn't he, Harvey?
To be fair, though, when I remember when Newcastle signed him, I was, as a Newcastle supporter, I was over the moon.
Yeah.
Thinking Harvey Barnes.
Yeah.
He's a great
Well,
player.
people you would hear, if you're not watching regular, people watch it, you'd see his stats, like his goals and assists. For a player out wide, pretty impressive. Especially for a team in Leicester's positioning, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You do. But there was potential. There were games where he'd go quiet.
Yeah.
But overall, he produced well. But you felt there was more there to be even better.
Yeah, let's hear from his manager then. Eddie Howe has been speaking about the former Leicester man and the form that he is in at the moment, with Anthony Gordon obviously out injured at the moment.
Yeah, really pleased. I think Harvey been chomping at the bit to play. He's been desperate to showcase what he can do. He brings unique things to the team. He's definitely a goal threat. Yeah, I think he had 7 shots against Brentford off both sides of the pitch. I trust him a lot. I think he's got a lot of great attributes that we want in the team. So I've been really happy. I've been really happy with how he's come into the team and built relationships with likes of Joe Linton and Tino Livramento, who's playing on the other side. I think they've done really well. They've been a consistent threat down that left-hand side. So delighted with that side of the pitch.
Yes, Eddie Howe there speaking about Harvey Barnes. We'll obviously be out watching the game, so it'll be interesting to hear that reception that Harvey Barnes will get from the Leicester fans. I'm sure it will be a good one as a final.
He should get a good reception. Like you said, he did ever so well for Leicester, and then obviously Newcastle United signed him. But I think if Leicester can keep him quiet, like you say, you don't want one of their performances where you think, oh, he's on top of it like he was at the Brentford game, I think. So you got to keep him quiet, but like I said, I'll come back to the midfield. You got to keep the midfield quiet, and then you've got a chance.
They're a good outfit, aren't they? They're a good outfit. I mean, look at the bench. It's not overly strong, like overly frightening, but by that time damage can be done with their starting 11. It's pretty handy, isn't it? I mean, we can see on the side screen. Sorry, there, Isak is a quality operator, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I think Newcastle did ever so well to hang on to him.
Yeah.
Well,
there's always there's constant conjecture about him going elsewhere, isn't there? But then that left-hand side, Harvey Barnes, Livramento, he's got some athletic prowess as well, isn't he? The two of them coming at you. That's what I'm saying. Daka's going to be chasing back there. I suppose Bonanotto won't fancy that too much either, but that's the level of players you're coming up against, Leicester. You've got to back yourselves and have a go at it. Have a go at it. Don't lay down and let it happen.
I think this is the frustrating thing. When you watch the Leicester games, have a go at it.
Yeah.
Have a go. What are you going to lose? You're going to lose a game. But at least you've had a go.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to sort of but talk. We talk about it and suggest that if Leicester last year, quite a different style of football. It was massive on possession under Maresca. Now little changes. They still wanted to keep the ball early on, but you're up against different level of opposition, and it's difficult maybe, or have they got the personnel? I thought they had to try and merge into a team that are horrible to play against, at least. You're not going to have as much possession like they did last year, but to go from 75% possession in most games, that might be an over-exaggeration, to probably, 35-40%, it's a different type of game, and adapting or having the players to play a different way, I don't know, it's that's been part of the problem as well, I think. But it needs to be. But you need to have those players who've got that naturally in them, don't you?
Oh, God,
the dogged, determined ones
Yeah.
who get in your faces and make. I know that's less of a thing these days with the rules changing, what have you. But being, it's an exaggeration, but Atletico Madrid, like a team like that, horrible to play against, and then do your bits as and when the chances come. But Leicester have conceded too easily, I think, in games.
Yeah.
Things happen too softly.
I think, even the games I've watched, I think the whole, the management, the coaching wise, Rude's thought, what, we'll stop them conceding goals, and he's forgot about the front bit.
Yeah.
Which is sort of taken away, and he's still they're still conceding goals, and now thinking, oh, we forgot about the front bit.
Yeah.
And it's obviously
and then ultimately it wears down, doesn't it? When something breaks down,
Well, we are just under half an hour now away from kickoff here at King Power Stadium. As ever, as with every game, it is live and available for you to listen to live commentary. Tonight's commentary team involves Jerry Taggart, who, Matt, I'm sure he would relished playing in an Atletico Madrid style team, wouldn't he? Jerry Taggart, he'd have loved that, wouldn't he? Here he is in conversation a little bit earlier, pitchside, with our commentator, John.
Good evening, Dan. Hello, everyone. We are pitchside at King Power Stadium. Gorgeous summer's evening, but even better by this man, Jerry Taggart, alongside me. A pivotal evening, it feels like, for Leicester City, fresh from the defeat at Manchester City last week.
Yeah, again, obviously things aren't going the way we all wanted them to. And again, on Wednesday night, a bit of a disappointing result. Tonight, I fear, isn't going to get any easier for Leicester City. And obviously with the league position and the points tally, then things could get, a lot worse after tonight's result or game.
Biggest thing for Leicester throughout the season is conceding first, but as they did in Manchester, conceding early. I assume that affects the confidence of defenders coming into a game. I know the message seems to be post-match was trying to get through that first 15 minutes. That'll be the same again tonight.
Yeah, I think, again, when you're going away to a team like Manchester City, and although they're not in the best form, they've still got a raft of top-class talent, and you want to stay in the game as long as possible. So when you do concede early, it just takes the wind completely out of your sails. And Man City would have a counter at the end. And I suppose when you come up against a team like Newcastle, who are striving to get into that top four, as well as obviously coming off the back of that cup win at Wembley last week, then it's going to be a pretty difficult evening for Leicester. So sort of the same sort of tactics. Can we stay in the game? Don't concede early. Stay in the game for as long as possible, and maybe Lady Luck may go our way.
Let's talk about Newcastle in great form. The League Cup win you mentioned, it's 14 wins from the last 18 in the Premier League. They're in touching distance of the Champions League. With games in hand, just tells you the size of the task that Leicester have got.
Yeah, and I think, if Eddie Howe being the manager he is, he'll have forgotten all about that League Cup final now, because he knows that there's a real good opportunity for Newcastle to get into the Champions League, and that starts here tonight. And he'll be coming here tonight thinking, well, probably no better opportunity to get 3 points away from home than a King Power Stadium this evening. So I'm sure he'll have all his players fully focused on getting those 3 points.
The Leicester 11 unchanged, but something that might get the fans excited is Jeremy Monger on the bench. We've heard so much about him. I wonder if we might see him tonight.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Because like you say, it gives the fans something to hopefully cheer about and get excited about. This is a young lad who's got bags and bags of talent. A lot of big clubs are studying his form, looking at him. So it'd be great to see this young talent get on the pitch and showcase what he's got, and gives the fans, like I say, something to really cheer about.
Kick-off on the way here at King Power Stadium. Leicester City versus Newcastle. Me and Tags on commentary if you don't fancy the watch-along. Back to you, Dan.
Thank you very much, John and Jerry. As John rightly said there, he's on commentary duty. That will be available for you in around about 10 or 15 minutes' time as we build up to kick-off. Jerry very much saying the same things that we've been saying, that obviously they need to show a little bit of fight and a bit of that spirit. And one thing he talked about was obviously, then you just maybe need a little bit of luck on your side. And that is something that, you can't blame that, but you just feel there have been games where it's just eluded Leicester somewhat, with chances that they've had have been either blocked unbelievably, or it's a question of how's that not gone. And even El Kanous's effort from the edge of the box at the Etihad, that was a whisker away. On another day, that could curl in, couldn't it? But it's one of those.
You've got to make it happen, haven't you?
Yeah,
really. You got to, if you say fine lines, fine margins at times, but sometimes that can be the difference. But yeah, listen, a bit of fortune would be very welcome. Don't get me wrong, I can't remember too much coming Leicester's way, but at the same time, you make your own luck, don't you?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's sometimes you need that though. Where a shot and it comes off somebody's and it goes in, and then obviously you win a game 2-3-0. But it's. But like you said, you make your own luck. I think.
Yeah, over the long term, surely. Yeah. But it's hard. It is hard. You can't get away from that fact. And the atmosphere tonight is going to be a little bit strange, especially with Newcastle. They're going to be really buoyant, aren't they? Yeah, they're going to be down in their droves, and Leicester supporters are going to be sort of dragging themselves to the stadium. Although Well, we got here earlier. There was quite a few about, actually, in fairness. But yeah, it's
attendances have still been really good, haven't they?
They're always going to be. It's always the way. Always with the Leicester fans are always going to be fill the stadium. It was always the way. But it's just, I just feel as though the fans need something just to cling on to. You know, if the worst case scenario does, which probably will, and they go down into next season, give them something to grab on. To say, you know what, we're looking forward to next season because we're going to bounce straight back.
But that's what we talked about right at the very start. For those of you just joining us, Jeremy Monger has a spot on the bench for Leicester tonight. That is the type of thing that people can cling on to.
Yeah.
Even if we see 15 minutes of him, it's just something extra there, isn't it? It's something for the future, if you like.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I bet a lot of people, probably myself included, like to see him from the start, but not expecting him to sparkle for 90 plus minutes. Sort of thing. So probably best coming on as a sub.
That's what I was going to say. I think there's a worry there as well to say, well, he's only 15.
Yeah,
15. If he gets a deer in the headlights, he's only 15. But then he could pull up trees. You know. But I think that's a right decision. Put him on the bench and then give him, like you said, 15, 20 minutes.
Give him every
bit
of a chunk.
Well, that's
not
what
just 5 minutes.
Yeah.
LCFC Forever on YouTube has got involved. He asked that. He basically says, "Will we see him? Will we see Monger tonight?" He was on the bench a few times earlier in the season. I'm thinking, particularly FA Cup against Manchester United. But then that game was nip and tuck so close till about the 94th minute. It's a risky one then to put a player in of that age there. Is it one that then we might see 10 minutes from him, 15 minutes from him tonight? Or does it depend on what happens on the pitch?
I think it depends on what happens on the pitch.
Yeah, of course,
Because he's obviously put him on the bench for a bit of experience before. And he's got that little bit of experience now. Right, see how the game goes. Right, son, you're in.
Yeah. I'm sure he's got that mentality as well, probably ahead of his years.
You've probably got to be that.
Exactly, to be where he is. They wouldn't put him there. The average 15-year-old would quaking in their boots if they got thrown into that, wouldn't they? Literally.
I would be now. Twice
exactly. I know some 25-year-olds that would. But, these youngsters are quite, I wouldn't say cocksure, but they're quite confident. Listen, the quality of player he is, he'd have been told for at least the last 7 years how amazing player he is, right? Because he would have been in his relevant age. So he's accustomed to getting praise, and he's and he'll be thinking, well, I know I'm a good player because everyone tells me I'm a good player, and I can go and. I don't think he'd be worried because he's been training with the first team, hasn't he? So he knows the levels. If he was totally out of his depth, he wouldn't be on the bench. So he's probably thinking, do you know what? I can handle myself here. That's what he'll be thinking.
Fancy.
He'll fancy, of course he will. Good luck to him. Yeah. But hopefully he gets an opportunity. To be fair, regardless, really. But I suppose, if Leicester are winning 1-0, we're trying to hang on. He's not coming on.
He's not, no.
But, it'd be good to see him at some stage. But first and foremost, it'd be good to see certainly some more adventure from Leicester at home. I was disappointed hugely against Man City. Not because it was, it brought the realisation of the seriousness of the position. We sort of knew that increasingly as the season went along, but there was a bit of a nothing performance. Got to give more than that. Got to give some inspiration back to the supporters.
Yeah, well, let's hear from one of the players then who is involved tonight, has been throughout most of the season. Wout Faes is part of the back three this evening. For the Foxes, the same 11. We'll come on to the team news in just a moment. But Wout Faes, as one of those back three, has been speaking ahead of this tough test against Newcastle tonight.
What you can always expect, I think, a very, very aggressive, very energetic team, good team. Obviously, they've won a first trophy in so many years, so they must be on a on a high as well. So hopefully we can make them fall from their cloud, like they say, and get some points. Because for us it's a very, very good home game.
Most people out there will say, well, Leicester are doomed. They're going to go down, but you can't think like that. What is your answer to that doom and gloom?
Of course not. A lot of people always speak, but I think we as a club and as a squad we should keep believing. I think otherwise you shouldn't come to training anymore or show up to games, because then it doesn't matter anymore. Obviously, like I said, it's a very difficult moment. But for me, and I think for everyone in the squad, the most important thing is we still can do it. It's not finished yet. Obviously, it's a very difficult task. Everyone knows, but it's doable.
That was Wout Faes there, speaking about Newcastle and then about the current plight here at Leicester. But he's echoing similarly to, I guess, to what Ruud was saying earlier, that, you know, the players certainly aren't giving up. They are still willing to fight in every game, Steve. And that's hopefully what we'll hopefully see tonight.
Well, you've got to, you know, that's when in the press conference with Ruud, I was hoping, well, I am hoping he doesn't, you know, come across that way when he goes in the dressing room.
Yeah.
I want him to go in the dressing room and go, lads, look, you got 7 games, get your finger out and win a game. You know, that, and I think that's a mentality you've got to go in and to say, look, lads, you got this is down to you. And be more aggressive, be more of a leader type of thing and get in there. So hopefully he's done that tonight, and then he's, you know, and they can start right. Because I keep saying, they've got to start and get everybody, here we go, this is going to be the one.
Yeah, because listen, a lot of people say the right things, and you know, understandably so. But it's the proof's in the pudding. It's about going and performing. And sometimes you have to take, I don't know, maybe like sort of, not risks unnecessarily, but you know, back yourself a little bit and have a go, have a bit of belief, and maybe you can turn things to a degree at some stage. But you've got to, just the season has sort of drifted along and petering, and you know, people don't want to see that just sort of. I don't want to try to use a word that's not too critical, really, but you know, you don't want that thing just to peter out and drift back into the Championship. You want to see moments where it's sort of do or die.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, come on, if we win this, who knows? I mean, it's getting very late in the day, very, very late. But, you know, maybe tonight, right, it could spark some sort of Great Escape Mark II.
Why not?
Right? I don't see it, but we didn't see it before.
And stranger things have happened.
Well, at this club, they have, haven't they?
Yeah.
But you know, maybe, but just see a spark, not an acceptance. And, you know, people have to, I don't know, whether it's making a challenge that's risky, that, you know, a goal-saving challenge, or taking responsibility, or making that drive forward from midfield again and again when it's easy not to. Don't do the safe things. It's going to have to be something out of the ordinary to give Leicester any chance.
Yeah, Chief Brody has said on YouTube, we just want to see that you care, that you're playing for Leicester. That's all we want to see. And
I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Chief Brody's made the point better than you. So thank you to Brody for that.
Chief Brody from Jaws.
Yeah. Speaking of the players, they'll be out on that pitch in just under 15 minutes' time. We'll get a quick recap of tonight's team news from Leicester City and Ruud van Nistelrooy's point of view. It's a fairly easy one because the side are unchanged from the team that played at the Etihad. It's Mads Manson in goal, Thomas, Cody and Faes, the defensive three rather, with Christensen and Justin as the wing backs, Ndidi and Samare, with El Khanous and Daka supporting Jamie Vardy. A spot on the bench for 15-year-old Jeremy Monger. Maybe we'll see him. Hopefully we can see Ricardo again from the bench. He looked bright, didn't he, when he came on at the Etihad. And then from a Newcastle United point of view, they know that a win sends them fifth and into the Champions League places. We know that they won't be short of motivation then, will they, coming here tonight? Nick Pope is in goal. Livramento, Byrne, Shah and Trippier across the back four. A midfield three that Eddie Howe says is one of the best in the division of Tonali, Joelinton and Bruno. Sees in front of them Harvey Barnes, Murphy and Alexander Isak. Of course, he is possibly the best striker in the Premier League as well. So, yeah, Newcastle United, when you look at that 11, you think there's still the likes of Anthony Gordon that's got to come into there somehow when he's back fit. But particularly the midfield three and Isak up front, they probably go into any team, really.
Yeah. I mean, I think the point you made, Matt, about like Leicester having a dogger in in midfield. I mean, you got Tonali there. He was just he's been brilliant since he's
numerous as well, isn't it?
And he can put his foot in as well. And so
Joe Linton.
Joe Linton, the size of him, he's a beat. Since he's dropped back, he's been a revelation.
Unbelievable, actually.
He's been brilliant. Unbelievable, because I remember as a fan when we signed him, and he first 2 or 3 games, you're like, whoa, I'm not sure about this. And then obviously he dropped back, and he was just a different player. So I think, the powerful and the aggressive, and I think
and can play,
and can play, obviously, and can play. But I think if Leicester can do that, especially the next 7 years, it's 7 games, 7 games left, and the next 7 games. I mean, that's what they need, a bit of aggression, a bit of passion.
So it'll be interesting to see what Leicester do to cope with that recognised midfield three.
8 including tonight.
Because Leicester have, effectively only got Sumari and Ndidi there. I know Canoes can come and help. That's what I mean. It'd be interesting to see how they go up against that, because that's going to be a key part of the area, as always.
Yeah. Final point, Steve, can go to yourself before we hand over to our commentary team for the evening. Leicester and Brody summed it up in the comments, didn't he? But we just want to see some fight tonight. We want to see the players show that they care for this club.
Of course you do. You come to a wonderful club like Leicester City, and to have a relegation fight, you're just like, oh. But you've got to show passion, commitment, a bit of anger. I mean, it would drive you nuts, and it would drive me nuts to be in a position like this, and you want to get on that pitch, and you can't get the lads. I feel as though a few of the Leicester lads at the minute thinking, I don't really want to go on that pitch. Well, I couldn't wait to get on that pitch because I want to put it right, and that's what you got to have inside you. It's either inside you or it isn't inside you, and I'd love to be in that game there. I'd probably go for it there.
Happy playing against Newcastle, wouldn't you?
Well, exactly, yeah. But you know what it's like when you cross that white line. You're doing your job. It doesn't matter who you play against.
No, it's tough. It's tough, but I wouldn't question the players' efforts. But it's just when your confidence goes, that affects you, and it can. You make decisions like you err on the side of caution, and you're a bit nervous and you're tentative, and that spreads. But it's about your strength of character, really, collectively, that determines how you go forward.
Well, who knows then? You never know. A goal might just change everything. So hopefully we can see one of those fairly early on this evening and see a spirited battling display from the Foxes, who are not down and out yet. Will the greatest of great escapes start tonight? Hopefully so. We're going to hand you over now to our commentary team. Jerry Taggart and John Dunn will talk us through Leicester City against Newcastle United in the Premier League.
Signal that Leicester are straight back up to the Premier League.